On to stage 3, higher up in the mountains, and as you can see, the weather will be a factor for both traction and visibility. Mark Lovell is now first on the road. With no tracks to follow, he'll have to rely more on his instincts to stay on the road. Paul Schwanier is second on the road, but the slippery conditions have him working hard to find any traction. Richard Tuttle gets his first real taste of rallying in Oregon's coastal range. He's really struggling to maintain control.
0.24, right
just on the very ragged edge. And here we see the reason. It's a flat left rear tire. And it will cost him. There's 5 miles to go on this stage. Scheibel's concern over using rally tires in the snow turned true as he is losing time to his teammate. Reese Millen ditch hooking a front tire just off the edge of the road to help in cornering. Seamus Burke in a 3-way tie for the lead, looking to make it all his own. But it won't happen this way. A little too much ditch hooking, and the car rolls over. Co-driver Frank Cunningham is out of the car looking for help to put it back on its wheels. And with the help of several spectators, it is back on the road. They get it fired up and continue. There's some broken glass and a few dents, but Steve Gingras has caught up to them, which means they've lost over a minute. Fortunately, there's a service break at the end of the stage. Lee Perkinson is there.
How bad is the car?
Right at the damage, it's just a windscreen.
For you, you're the current points leader. How will this change your strategy?
I think we just lost a couple of minutes, so it shouldn't. A long ways to go yet, so catch up hopefully.
Richard Tuttle has discovered his problem.
I didn't exactly know what it was, but it transpires that the wheel is broken in half and we had a puncture. So we drove for 5 miles with it like that.
Despite the flat, he was still able to place 7th on the stage. Lovell still first on the road on stage 5, and depending on the elevation, they have to deal with rain or snow. And definitely mud. He hooks the ditch a little bit. Looks like the exhaust is coming off on Lovell's car. And his total time, 30.56 minutes, the time to beat. Reese Millen is trying to do just that. He drifts through the spectator area and posts second fastest time on stage 4. Paul Schwanier also looking to improve his times. These are new roads, so he has no advantage of having run these stages before. Schwanier slows. There's a car off. It's Millen. He gives the OK sign, and Schwanier speeds off. Taking a look now at Schwanier's ditch hooking from the Hyundai Helicam. And another corner from inside. An uncharacteristic spin for the man from Vermont. But he gets it going again, and as he comes to the finish of stage 5, we'll compare his time to Lovell. 1.06 minutes behind. And there's Millen from overhead. You can see that he has slid off. He's high-centered in the mud. Here's Tuttle again. He set the fastest time on stage 4, but he still has a lot to make up after that broken wheel. He's using all of the road, trying to shave off just a few more seconds. Pushing it hard right to the edge, but still keeping it on course. And at the finish, he's only 56/100ths behind Lovell, good enough for second place. Now it's Carl Scheibel cruising through the spectator area, another driver who wishes he could find a little more grip in the mud and snow. He's a little farther off the edge than Tuttle on this corner, but he manages to gather it up. Not quite so lucky here, however. Noses it into the bank, but he pulls it out, and he makes it to the finish of the stage. At the finish, 2 minutes, 0.58 behind Lovell. Copious amounts of the handyman's secret weapon have kept Seamus Burke in the hunt. His rollover cost him over 2 minutes to the leaders, dropping him to 30th place at one point, but he's fighting his way back. After 5 stages, it's Lovell, Tuttle, Schwanier, Scheibel, and Lachlan O'Sullivan in the PGT car. Lee Perkinson gets the dirt from Paul Schwanier.
All right, Paul, when you started this stage, you did not have that dirt with you, so what happened out there?
Coming down the hill at the end of the stage, it was very slippery. We spun out and hit the bank and stalled the car and ended up facing up the road the wrong way. So we got it turned around and headed down the hill and took a little time to make sure we got to the bottom of the hill.
Mechanical problems for the leader, Mark Lovell, as the ProDrive crew replaces the alternator.
the wipers started going slow in there. It was only raining a bit, but we're changing that now because obviously it's going to get dark soon. Unless we got full power from the battery and the alternator, we won't get much light.
The night stages are ProRally Series presented by Subaru. Let's take a look at the two-wheel drive classes. Dr. Dave White and co-driver Jimmy Brandt won the Group 2 class last year and are running third after leg 1. Just a couple hundredths of a minute ahead are Nate Tennis and Nate Pettit in a Classic 99. And leading the two-wheel drives and worrying the all-wheel drive cars is the sideways Swede Carl Yardebal.
I mean, the four-wheel drive car up front going to be extremely hard to beat, but I want to do my best, so that's what we're doing.
Turning to the production classes, Mark Utek from Minnesota won PGT at Snowdrift, but sits third on his first visit to Oregon. Last year's PGT champ, Pat Richard, demonstrates his tremendous car control as he holds down second. And in the class lead is Lachlan O'Sullivan with veteran John Dillon co-driving this season. They're running 5th overall. On to the nighttime stages, and in the dim light we can see the brake rotors on Mark Lovell's Subaru glowing as he woes it down. He tries to catch the lip of the road to hold on to the slippery stuff. Richard Tuttle claims he's holding some in reserve.
I'm honestly not pushing. It's just that, like the first stage there, I was just trying to get a rhythm to see where the pace was, and I was surprised. And then you know, we take it steady. It's the same tactic as ever.
Keeping up a steady pace is not made any easier by these conditions. On board once again with Paul Schwanier. And it's another spin for the reigning champion. This time, though, it looks like he's stuck on the bank. Carl Scheibel is next on the road. And we see from Schwanier's onboard camera that he lets Scheibel pass, so we know he has lost at least a minute. Scheibel heads on to the finish, and not far behind is Schwanier, apparently struggling with his car. He won in the snow in Michigan earlier this year, so you wouldn't expect that to be much of a problem for the Vermont driver. He pulls into service, and the mechanic's set to work on the problem.
Well, at the start of the last stage, I think something broke because we only had the rear wheel spinning, and it's pretty much undrivable, so we had to cruise to the last stage, and we lost about 3 minutes.
How worried are you about Tuttle coming up? He's getting real strong right now.
Yeah, he is. He's going quick. So I'm worried. I'm not sure whether I want to be leading tonight or not. If it snows tonight, then running the first car on the road is not an advantage.
Heavy snow causes visibility problems for Lovell on stage 8, and he is only 5th fastest. But he's having fewer problems than other drivers, and he finishes the night with a time of 1 hour 07.25. A problem for Tuttle. He appears to be losing power.
He's got the fuel pressure. Whoa. Keep right, keep right, keep right. Whoa.
And he loses it while trying to watch the gauges. He manages to keep it running, though, but he's being caught. It's Scheibel. That means Scheibel has made up a minute on Tuttle. Crossing the finish line, we see that Tuttle is 2.71 minutes behind leader Lovell. On board with Scheibel, he likes the night stages. He set the fastest time on stage 8.
The road, the finish. Okay.
He finishes the leg 2.75 minutes behind, just 400ths behind Tuttle. Paul Schwanier trying to make it to the finish. The crew did not have enough time in service to make repairs, so he continues to struggle with power only to the rear wheels. He finishes the stage, but he's 6.14 minutes behind. At the completion of leg 1, it's Mark Lovell, Richard Tuttle, Carl Scheibel, Tim Patterson, and Seamus Burke has clawed his way back up to 5th. It seems that nearly everyone has had problems, so they're glad to be done with the first day's stages.
Well, we've had a turbo problem, and I think we probably lost 4 minutes. But then we're lucky because everyone else has had problems.
Mark Lovell may be in the lead, but it was not without exertion.
It's been really hard. You wouldn't wish it on your mother-in-law.
There's plenty of work to do on Schwanier's car overnight. The crew needs to get the four-wheel drive back in action for tomorrow's stages.
SCCA ProRally, real racing that starts where the pavement ends. For the experience that lasts a lifetime, call the SCCA today or log on to the web at scca.org.
Goes on in service.
In between each segment, they have service. This is equivalent to a NASCAR pit stop. You can see these guys going to work. They change tires, they clean it up, but no one knows it better than Dave Champion from ProDrive. What really is the purpose of service, and what are your goals?
When you compare it to your NASCAR pit stop, we change tires, we put fuel, we repair any damage the car has sustained during the special stage, and obviously keep it in the best of health. If necessary, we have the opportunity to change the transmission more or less every part on the car, possibly except the engine. And yeah, you have normally a time limit of 20 minutes, and it all has to be done in that time.
And this is where the crew can make or break a rally.
At the start of leg 2, Mark Lovell is still first on the road, not necessarily where he'd like to be considering the weather predictions.
The weather changes in Oregon here just like the drop of a hat. Yesterday, within 10 miles, we had dry, then we had rain, then we had snow, then we went back to dry, all in one stage. And it makes it very difficult when you're driving blind. So, running first car on the road, I'm a bit apprehensive this morning, as you can probably tell.
Richard Tuttle starts the day in second. The mechanical problems fixed overnight by his crew.
Caution coming up for 90 left.
No, it turns out it was an electrical problem that was operating the solenoid valves fixed, now we're all ready to go.
He'll have to work hard if he's going to make up over 2.5 minutes in only 5 stages today. Starting the day only 0.04 out of second place is Carl Scheibel. Once again, tire choice is critical.
Delta T right.
Yeah, these are times when I really don't like this sport because I don't know what I'm going to do. Really, because the gravel tires do not work in the snow at all.
Here's a guy who doesn't roll over and play dead. Seamus Burke's crew has straightened his car out some after yesterday's rollover, and now he's giving it all in trying to improve on 5th place. Another driver who isn't giving up is Paul Schwanier. His crew repaired the 4-wheel drive, and now he's trying snow tires, hoping to gain a slight advantage.
We're going to gamble here today. We've got a lot of time to make up, and there's going to be some snow out there. So if there's a lot of snow and we're the only ones with snow tires, we got a chance to make up some time and finish in the top 5. It's a risky decision, but sometimes you got to take chances.
Here's another big story. Tim Patterson has moved from 7th to 4th in last night's snowy stages. They seem to suit his driving style.
It made very treacherous driving. As it turned out, we were able to pass 2 cars on that stage. I guess I could see it better than somebody else, but it was still fun despite the bad visibility.
Back at the front, Mark Lovell appears to be slowing. Apparently, he's having a problem with the car. He pulls over to the side of the road, and Tuttle gets by. Lovell seems to be working the shifter hard. And Tuttle is first, coming into the end of stage 11. His time at the finish, 1 hour, 32.63 minutes. Behind him now, Lovell comes into the finish. He's lost over a minute, but retains the lead. 1.25 minutes ahead of Tuttle.
By that nasty hairpin left, the one you told me about.
Scheibel is next. He was mere seconds from moving up a place. Let's see if he's done it. He slides wide into the finish. No such luck. He's still 2.68 minutes behind his teammate. Seamus Burke is next through. Apparently his damage is all cosmetic as he isn't letting up at all. He wants to move up another place. He's made up time, but not enough. 3.07 minutes behind the leader. On board again with Paul Schwanier. There's snow at the higher elevations once again, and the slippery conditions catch him. Only a few seconds lost this time. The snow tires didn't seem to help there. Back on the gravel and into the finish of stage 11. 5.22 minutes in arrears. He's made up over half a minute, but has a very long way to go. With 3 stages to go, it's Lovell, Tuttle, Scheibel, Seamus Burke moving up to 4th, and Tim Patterson. Lee Perkinson finds the action in service.
Mark, obviously Richard got by you on the last stage. What's going on with the car?
In fact, the first corner in the first stage, we had a complete brake failure. So we just run the stage without any brakes. I don't know what it is, maybe a stone called a pipe or something. But not very nice coming down the hill on the snow. So I'm pleased to be here, to be honest. And we dropped just over a minute, so we got about a minute lead. It's going to be tight at the end.
What they tried to do here at Hyundai, this gamble with these snow tires, is if you actually look at the snow tires, you can see the little step right here. That's what actually turns the car, according to Paul. But here the tires are actually on the car during that last stage, and because of the gravel, those little steps are gone. And what happened is when he got to the snow, he didn't have the advantage that he needed to gain some more time.
Over in 2-wheel drive, Carl Yardeval had a healthy lead, but his tires were going away. A little too wide, sideways, into a tree, and backwards into the ditch. His rally was over, a tough way to end a great drive so near to the finish. That hands the 2-wheel drive victory to Dave White.
I'm sorry to see him off. I'm glad that he was fine, and the rally just came to me, and so I got a win. It was great.
In production GT, Lachlan O'Sullivan retired with an alternator problem, which moved Mark Utek up to 2nd in class. But the PGT win went to Canadians Patrick Richard and Ken Kwong.
With the slippery conditions and some of the downhill stages, we can keep our speed up through the corners, and it really makes a difference. The 4-wheel drive's working great.
In production class, Sport Compact Car Technical Editor Dave Coleman drove the Hyundai Media Car to victory. We'll be back with the final stages in just a moment. Takes back, that's good news as he tries to fend off the charge of this man, Richard Tuttle, trying to make up over a minute.
Advance arrow ahead, caution 90 left.
Carl Scheibel attempting to hang on to third place. And Seamus Burke in the battered Evo is trying hard. He has Scheibel in his sights and wants third place in order to retain his points lead. He's been second or third fastest on all of today's stages. Near the end, Schwanier had more problems and dropped a few places. On the final forest stage, Mark Lovell is keeping it neat, just trying to maintain his lead. There's only the short spectator stage after this, and it's doubtful it will affect the results. His time, 1 hour, 53.46 minutes. Richard Tuttle, he's set fastest time on all 4 forest stages today, but will it be enough to make up the deficit? He slides it through the hairpin and across the finish line. 0.56 minutes behind Lovell, not quite enough to win. Carl Scheibel is realistic about Seamus Burke.
So he does have an open class car, and I'm more concerned about the class win, so I'll drive moderate and make him try and catch me, and he'll have to push.
Across the finish line, 3.78 minutes behind. Seamus Burke comes into the finish of 11 now. Let's see if he can catch Scheibel. 3.46 minutes, he did it. Burke moves into third place. At the final service, Richard Tuttle is resigned to second place.
So there's nothing you can do in this short last stage?
1 mile, I think, with 30 seconds. Not even I can do that.
On to the final stage, a romp in the mud at the Tillamook Air Museum. He could take it easy, but Lovell goes on to win the stage in front of the assembled crowd. His final time coming up, 1 hour, 55.53 minutes. It's all over but the celebrating, and the final result, Lovell, Tuttle, Burke, Scheibel wins Group N, and Patterson finishes 5th.
I actually came off the stage and I said to Steve, I think that's the hardest stage I've ever driven. And the conditions were, well, they were abysmal, very, very hard. So it was a big challenge, and you're not going to get a bigger challenge anywhere than this. It was awesome.
Seamus Burke still leads in the points, but only 1 over Mark Lovell. Then it's Richard Tuttle, Carl Scheibel, and Paul Schwanier. In the manufacturer's points, Hyundai leads Subaru and Mitsubishi. Make plans to join us May 28th for the next SCCA Pro Rally, Rim of the World from California. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew, I'm Tim Winker. We'll see you next time we go rallying.